things have inspired me since I was a kid: nature and art. When I was 5 years old, my dad brought home a turtle, and the first thing that I wanted to do was draw it. So I sat the turtle on a rock, and I got a sketch pad, and, I drew something that vaguely resembled a turtle. That's what I told everybody anyway. In kindergarten, my parents would comment to my teacher and say, it is so great that you guys do so much drawing in class. Sarah just loves it. And the teacher would smile and shake her head and say, actually, that's all Sarah. She just draws on everything, whether we want her to or not. Still true today, by the way. And I always drew animals and their environments. I never drew people. People just weren't as interesting. No offense, it's not your fault. But I was fascinated by the wings and the horns and the tails and the feathers and the stripes and the claws. I drew what I was fascinated by and what I was surrounded by. I grew up on 22 acres of field and forest in western Michigan, and I had unlimited access to this paradise. Nature was right outside my door, literally, and sometimes it was even in the house. At any given time, there was a box with an injured bird in it, or there was a skull that I had found sitting in the sink. On one occasion, there was a bucket of snakes in the garage. Yeah, you know where this is going. Very quickly turned into an empty bucket in a garage full of snakes. Yeah, I found out where my mom drew the line that day. This unlimited access that I had to nature was really a privilege. And all of this time that I spent exploring the natural world led me to fall in love with it. And that love fueled a desire to preserve it and protect it and to share it with everyone. I don't know that there was any one moment where I realized our human impact on nature. I saw it all the time. I saw it in the trash dump that we had inherited on our property. I saw it in the turtles that we stopped to help cross the road. I saw it in the litter that we picked up every time we went out. And I saw it in the books about endangered species that I just devoured. I knew from a very young age that these animals and these wild places that inspired so much fascination and joy and wonder for me were in trouble, and it was because of us. And I recognized that art was a way that I could bring voice to these issues, to evoke emotion in people, and maybe inspire action. I drew this when I was 9 years old. It's a little melodramatic, I'll grant you that. It evokes an emotion, though. It elicits a response. We need your help to survive. Stop littering now. Our family depends on your family. At 9 years old, I was starting to see the connection between the actions that we took every day and what was happening in the environment. And I was using art as a way to give voice to those issues that I cared so much about. When I was older, I realized that it wasn't just nature that was in trouble. It was us, too. The reality is nature has been here long before us, and it will be here long after us. It may look very different from the nature that I grew up in, but it will go on. And we have to ensure that we take action so we go on with it. Now that's overwhelming to think about, right? How different the world could be in 100, even 50 years. Even how rapidly it's changing right now. And it's so easy in the face of all of these overwhelming environmental issues to just throw our hands in the air and say, why bother? How can I possibly do anything? But with all the environmental crises we face today, we have to flip that question around and ask ourselves, how can we possibly not do anything? Humans are a social species. We're looking to each other for behavioral cues, and right now we're looking for cues on how to act in a world of uncertainty. Do we carry on as normal, as some would have us believe? Or do we make a change? Collective action starts with individual impact. It's hard to believe that those choices that we make have such an impact on the world, but they do. We do not move through this world without leaving a mark. And it's up to each of us to decide what kind of mark we want to make. It's difficult to think that something as small as what brand of toothpaste you buy or how you get to work in the morning really makes a difference, but it does. I had a friend in high school. We were driving home, and she threw a straw wrapper out the window. And she knew immediately what she had done, who she was with. And she looked at me in horror, and I looked at her in horror, and I was like, dude, why would you do that? We're still friends today, by the way. I didn't hold this against her for very long. And she kind of sputtered, and she was like, well, Sarah, it's one straw wrapper. Does it really make a difference? And I said, yeah, it does. Because if you're making that decision to throw that straw wrapper out the window, how many hundreds of thousands of millions of other people are making that same choice, are engaging in that same behavior? Because it's not just about you and that one action, it's about everybody else who's making the same choice. For worse, or for better, if we were to take all 800 or so of you in the audience tonight, and you were to use reusable bags on your next grocery trips in the next year, actually just half of your grocery trips in the next year, let's make it easy, we could have the potential collective impact to take 120,000 disposable bags out of circulation that year. And that's just the action of the people in this room, just half the time. Imagine the possibilities. Collective change starts with individual impact. Because if you don't do it, well, how can you expect anybody else to? The explorer Robert Swan once said that the greatest threat to our planet is the belief that somebody else is going to save it. But we all have a pretty critical stake in this. Are you really going to leave that responsibility up to somebody else? In every decision that related to my career that I've made since high school, I've asked myself, how can I use the skills that I have and the opportunities at my disposal to create the most impact for the causes that I care about? Now, I wanted to go into wildlife biology or zoology. That's what kids who loved animals did, right? But that wasn't using my skill set. Remember the 9-year-old little girl who drew the really sad panda? Well, I was still motivated by the same reasons that I drew that picture. My drawing had gotten a little better. And I realized that I could channel that talent for art into a career in design. And as I learned, design is a powerful tool for impact. And that's something that I got to explore as a graphic design student in college. I designed this poster in response to a class assignment. Design a poster with a message. Now, to nobody's surprise, I picked an environmental cause. And I took trash out of my own trash can and the trash cans of my very tolerant friends, and I arranged it in our living room in the shape of an albatross. And the white space that forms the silhouette of this bird represents all of the impact of our actions that we're not thinking about when we throw that straw wrapper out the window. Because all of this adds up to this. Our actions have impact. Our actions every day have impact. Now, I have continued using design as a tool for impact right here in St. Louis. As a graphic and exhibit designer working in the attraction design industry, that is a thing. Someone's got to design the roller coasters and the animal habitats. I get to work with clients like zoos, aquariums, museums, science centers, parks, all of these organizations that share the same passion for creating change. And using my design skills, I get to help them realize their visions, creating experiences that thousands, if not millions, of people visit every single year. And if just a small portion of those visitors leave a little bit changed, then I feel like I'm doing my job. But I wasn't content with just impacting faceless visitors that I will never meet. I wanted to suck in my coworkers too. Within a year of my employment at PGAV, I started our company's very first green team. And using the skills and passions of myself and my colleagues, we started creating opportunities for immediate impact that involved all 130-odd people in our offices. One of the first opportunities that we had was through our waste sorting centers, brand new with our office renovation. And when I was asked to design the signage for waste sorting, I was actually pretty excited about it. I know that doesn't sound like the most glamorous opportunity for a graphic designer, but I saw an opportunity here to go beyond telling people just what to put where and remind them of the broader impact of those actions. The sign in the middle says that if we were to divert 1 pound of trash per employee per day, which, by the way, is about a quarter of the national average that Americans produce, if we could do that, then we would have the potential impact of diverting 19 tons of waste from landfills in that year. That also happens to be about 3 times as heavy as a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's a very common unit of measurement in our industry. This signage goes beyond telling people just what to do. It reminds them why we're doing it. It's important to take advantage of opportunities like this, no matter what field you're in, no matter what the opportunity is, because we can't wait for the right place or the right time, because the place is right here, and the time is right now. You can start with yourself, because making changes in your own life makes you a bolder and more credible advocate to everybody around you. Start with yourself, and then expand your ripple of impact to your family, your friends, your coworkers, your classmates, your community, and tap into their skills and their knowledge to create unique and lasting change. And soon, that ripple of impact that you started will extend far beyond yourself. So how do you start? Well, you start with one thing, and then you do one more, and then you do another one after that. And pretty soon, your ripple of impact will extend far beyond yourself. Because remember, it's not just about that one action. It's about the hundreds of actions that follow. It's not about that one time you actually remember to bring your reusable bag to the grocery store. It's about the people who see you in line engaging in that behavior and picking up on that behavioral cue and thinking, oh, right, I have to remember to do that next time I come to the store. It's about reminding your friends and your family to use their reusable bags. And it's about your kids and your younger siblings who see you engage in that behavior and just accept it as normal. And it's about future generations of 9-year-old little kids who deserve a chance to fall in love with nature like I did. Collective change starts with individual action. And those actions ripple outwards. They intermix and they amplify each other until those ripples turn into waves of change. And you don't have to be responsible for the entire wave. You can be the stone that starts the ripple.